everyone to the Community Preservation Committee meeting Wednesday, May 16th at 6:30. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. The attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. First item on the agenda, the roll call of members. The only absent member is John Jonas. And we still have a vacant seat from the Housing Authority. Next item on the agenda is accept the prior minutes of the meeting dated May 3rd.
I think it should be May 9th, Mr. Chairman.
You're right, it is.
I think the minutes are right with the dates wrong on the agenda.
The minutes are. So I have a motion to accept the minutes from May 9th.
I'll make a motion to accept the May 9th minutes.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on the agenda is a project and funding recommendation for final report to Mayor and City Council. It's a revote. The revote is due to an open meeting law violation. On the last agenda that we posted, I made the mistake of not posting the description, each item individually. And the second piece of that is that I did not put that item for a vote. So I didn't mention that we were going to take a vote that night. I only said that we were deliberating. So we are re-voting the entire agenda items. There will be no discussion today on the items, but that is, and that is due to the fact that we did deliberate at the last meeting. Public comment? Anyone like public time? Mr. Sewell?
Thank you.
State your name for the record.
Of course. My name is Jim Soul. I live at 577 Rock Street here in Fall River. I'm the president of the Preservation Society of Fall River. And I appreciate the opportunity to just have a few words. 4 years ago, the Preservation Society of Fall River was more than proud to work with Al Lima to get this Community Preservation Act adopted here in Fall River. We were the first gateway city to do so. There was no help from the administration at the time or any politicians. This was all grassroots efforts that got us through, while many naysayers scoffed at us for our efforts. We got it through winningly. In the past few years, the CPA has contributed over $5 million to great various preservation, park, and open space projects. Projects that would just never have happened otherwise. But we see now a concern. We're concerned that there are more and more private property owners and developers competing for very limited funds against worthy municipal and nonprofit projects. Private entities are indeed eligible to apply for CPA grants. We're not arguing that. But the point is, we feel that in most cases, city projects and nonprofit projects really should be the norm. We're very concerned that these private projects will edge out nonprofit and municipal projects, but also that public aversion to private property projects could lead to the CPA being recalled entirely. It's a very scary notion. We've already heard people talking about this on the internet, in the Herald News, and on Facebook. I don't want this to happen. It would just be catastrophic if it gets to that point. We at the Preservation Society, we acknowledge that private property owners are eligible to apply for CPA grants. But as long as there are good, qualified, eligible nonprofit and municipal projects to be funded, that nonprofits and municipal projects should take the priority. It's also a state guideline that requires that CPA projects be prioritized by public accessibility, which is another thing that should really be considered when you're judging whether a private entity is a good candidate for CPA funding. I really appreciate your time. As upset as I am happy that people like you are willing to serve on committees like this. This is an extremely important committee. I think this is the most important committee. This is the only committee that controls fundings like this. So, very important. I thank you all for your time.
Colin Dias, 560 Ray Street. I didn't come really prepared with a speech or anything. I didn't see citizens' input on the agenda, but I just have a few questions for the 4 members who voted for the old Elks Lodge funding. I know there was a few other private entities that applied for funding that actually gave community use, like Academica. And I'm wondering why Academica was placed after 200 Bank Street, which I see no community use for. And there are plenty of questions brought by me to, and many other members of the board had many questions about the 200 Bank Street property, mainly the application and what's on the application, the validity of the application. And I am wondering why this board would approve funding for a project that has some controversy, in my opinion. And I did not attend the last meeting, but I did watch it on TV. And so my question would be to the 4 members, why was 200 Bank Street approved despite the funding approved, despite questions from other members, questions from the public, and why was it placed before other private entities like Academica, which many people in the public, which I see, believe deserve more funding because it provides more of a community use.
Thank you. First item on the agenda, and again, no deliberation. This is just up for a revote. So the projects, unfortunately, I don't have them in order. We're going to read them in order of their place on the agenda. Okay? So the first item is Bioreserve Project, 10-year bond, open space and recreation, $78,000. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect the unanimous decision. Next item on the agenda is Niagara Bike Path, open space and recreation, $45,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on the agenda is Lafayette Durfee, I'm sorry. Historic Preservation, $186,000. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect the unanimous decision. Anawan number 6, Fall River Fire Museum, Historic Preservation, $172,930.
I'll make a motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect the unanimous decision. Next item on the agenda is Little Theater, Historic Preservation, $95,937. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm sorry. It's a habit. It's a habit.
I know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect the unanimous decision. Next item on the agenda is Elks Lodge, 200 Bank Street, Historic Preservation, $150. Do I have a motion to?
50,000.
150, you know what it is, I got the glasses, so everything's going on. That pen's not gonna help me see. This has got a flashlight on
Do you
it.
want my glasses, Ken?
No. Just keep correcting me when I make a mistake. Elks Lodge, 200 Bank Street, Historic Preservation for $150,000. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is 4-3. 4-3 to approve.
Who was the third opposition, I'm sorry? Tony, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Academica. Historic preservation, $250,000.
I'll make a motion to accept.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No discussion.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get it before this is over.
It's almost over.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have 6-4, 1 against.
And who was the one against?
We have Eagle Event Center, historic preservation, $80,000. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Should be one opposed. Two opposed, I'm sorry. Two opposed. Next item on the agenda is Central Fire Station. Historic, we have a motion, it's 200,000, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Private Joseph Francis Green. Historic preservation, $13,000.
Make a motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect unanimous decision. Next item on the agenda is Granite Wall, Lower Kennedy Park, Bradford Avenue side, historic preservation for $30,000. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect unanimous decision. For a grand total of $1,177,867. The next item on the agenda is the project funding recommendation to the mayor. And this would be to submit to the city council. So the document you have that Sandy presented to us is the report that would be presented at the city council meeting, and the hope is that is going to be presented on May 29th at the next council meeting. The report is similar to the ones we've done in the past. Each item is listed on here at all the levels, at the acceptance level, at the eligibility phase, and at the hearing phase with the dollar amounts. It also lists the projects so that the council can see which projects did not make the cut. There'll also be one other document that will need to go down to the council at some point, and that is the funding request for the dollars that are going to be presented in each and every category as our usual recommendation on appropriations. We're looking for a vote to send this to City Council as the document.
I'll make a motion to send this to the city council as the document.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the
I'd
document?
like to thank Sandy for coming up with such a great report. I mean, she did a very
Yeah.
organized, excellent job.
She has done a great job. She said she was going to be late tonight, so we'll pass that on. It is a lot of work, and
Well
she's done-
organized.
She's done a great job with it.
She is wheelchair bound, so.
Exactly. Any further
I was about to say
discussion?
break a leg, but she already did that.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect the unanimous decision to send this on. Sandy gave you a ton of information tonight, including that, the minutes, the open meeting law violation paperwork. The only thing I would like to go over is the items for the next meeting and set our next meeting. Also, there's a document in here from Patron that is not on the agenda. It was a late arrival. So it is on for, it should be put on our next meeting. If someone would like that on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to put the letter from Richard Ventrone, because we had a lot of controversy on
Yes.
that, on the next meeting.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record reflect the unanimous decision to put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Who was the second, I'm sorry?
Second, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I'd also like to put on the CPC plan, application guidelines, checklist, eligibility application, funding application, agreements, and then in the three categories. Basically, some of these items are going to stay as standing agenda items for at least summer months that we normally would be able to chew on these items, so there'll be reoccurring figures on that agenda. And last, if we could check some dates for our next meeting. Any members who would like to attend the City Council meeting on May 29th, you're welcome to. I don't know where we're going to be on the agenda. I don't know if we're going to be heard in full council or if we're even going to be heard on the 29th. If it's in full council, the normal procedure is that it gets referred to finance where it can be deliberated. If it doesn't end up in full council, and if the president so chooses to put it in finance already, then we will be speaking that night. So we won't know that until the meeting gets a little closer. It's customary that the chair and the vice chair would be the people presenting that evening. If it's a finance meeting, if it's a regular meeting, my guess is that it's going to be a referral and it won't happen until the first meeting in June. So we probably shouldn't worry about our meeting date because we're not going to be able to figure that out as to where we're going to land. So we should have our meeting at a regularly scheduled time. And then if we need to have a meeting, we can always call a special. So June looks like a blur. Okay, there it is. Coming through now. Do we want it, are Wednesdays working for everyone? Was that
Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursdays aren't as good for me.
Okay, so
Wednesdays
Wednesdays
are better.
Okay. So we have the 6th and the 13th.
The 6th is fine for me.
I got a plan board meeting.
On the 6th?
Yes.
Okay. So the 13th?
Right now, veterans.
Right now is good?
No,
No.
not for me.
Okay. Then can we look at, what about the Tuesdays? Tuesday, the only problem with Tuesday is it's a normal council night. And I'm not sure what their council schedule is. So if we, just in case we get called down, is the 14th any good? That's a
Thursday, 14th is a Thursday.
I can work around it.
Okay. Does the 14th work for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's call it the 14th for our next meeting. I will ask Sandy to put these items that I mentioned as discussion items, and also the letter from Patron.
Is it 6 o'clock or 6:30?
It's up to everyone here. Is 6:30 a better time for everyone? Is that save rushing, or is it, or either 6 o'clock works? 6 works?
Any,
Yes.
All right, so let's keep it to the 6th. That may allow for more time. The other thing that is not on that list that I read out, but I think we should put it on there, is the open meeting law citizen input rules, so that we want to nail that down and have that ready for the upcoming year, so. yeah. Anything else?
Last letter.
Right, so we shepherd that, definitely. In your packet also, there's a disclosure for any appearance of a conflict of interest. That's there for your purpose, for your use at any point. And also Stuart's responses to some questions that we've been asking him. So what I'd like to do, is go in.
I think we can talk to Barb this week.
Sure. So for the next month's agenda, we have the disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest. We have the responses that was requested from Stuart Saginaw of the Community Preservation Coalition. We have the CPC plan, which needs to be updated, our plan. We have application guidelines, checklist, eligibility application, the funding application, agreements for housing, historic preservation, open space, the letter from Ventrone to this board, and the rules for citizen input time. And I think that's a hefty piece of work, but as I said, I think that some of these items are going to be on there for a little while, so we can move along with discussion. All of those items will be on that agenda for discussion. If anything on this agenda that I just read out, if anyone needs to, or has the need to want to vote on anything that's there, you just need to get it to me 72 hours or so before the meeting, so that I can, when we post the meeting, we post it appropriately. Okay? Very good. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, everyone.